Okay, just briefly. I have to say, I mean, I'm no, like I said, no legal expert, but Mr. Owens sounded a lot more put together than how he's floundering around with all these files and everything. So, I mean, I'll just say he sounded pretty good, although we all know that Sarah's really still running the show. But, that's my opinion on him. And really, he really did sound a lot better, but we'll see how it progresses. Let's see, the other thing, something really small, but I was noticing in this live chat here on Law and Crime, somebody said, what is Publix? And if you're a Floridian, you know what it is. Publix is a very popular grocery store. And I actually had to research it because it started here in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, but it's also in like 7 other states. But it's a very nice grocery store. It is expensive, but then they have 2-for-1 deals, and they have wonderful customer service. If you're employed there, there's stock options. So that's Publix, in case anyone's wondering. The only other thing I wanted to point out, whether this is going to make any difference or not, but in Florida, because they're talking about all this drinking and stuff, voluntary intoxication cannot be a defense. So we'll see how all that goes. Okay, hopefully they'll start bringing witnesses now. Let's see. Yeah, you see that you see she has some eyeliner on her. This thing about her having no place to go. I know that she said both of her grandparents are deceased. Her parents are deceased. I think there's one brother in the military, one brother that's incarcerated. And that is sad. I mean, setting aside everything else, but I mean, she certainly had Brian's place to go to all the time. Now, I don't think if she ever got out, that would be an option, but it's not like she had nowhere. And Sarah is somebody who is, I'm just sitting here talking because it's all quiet right now, who is very much control of everything, I think. I mean, you can tell how I'm telling you, she's running the courtroom. She probably grew up and snatched the gavel from Judge Cranick if she could. But it'll be interesting. I think when she... Okay, here we go.
State, you may call your first witness.
State, we call Juan Torres.
Ah, the brother. Okay. Oh, my goodness. I'm already feeling emotional. He's the one they interviewed in the car. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Mr. Cacciatore's going to do the questioning. All right.
Circuit Morty, you could be seated. And once seated, if you could state and spell your name for the record for us, please.
Juan Torres, Juantorres.
Thank you, sir. You may inquire, Mr. Cacciatore.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you tell us how it is that you know George Torres?
He's my older brother.
And how many siblings do you have?
6 or so.
And how long has your family resided here in the Central Florida area?
20 plus years.
And before residing in the Central Florida area, were you guys in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania?
Yes, sir. In Massachusetts.
Your brother, how often, your brother George, that is, how often would you talk with him?
Often we talk, I'd say, on a weekly basis.
And how far away did you live from George?
About 5-10 minutes. Very close.
Would you see him pretty often?
I would try not to go over there too much.
Who was George living with at the time that he passed away?
Sarah.
And without getting into many details, what was your relationship like with Sarah?
We didn't really have a relationship.
Just go ahead and
Would
say
it be
it.
fair to say you didn't get along with her?
Yes.
Go ahead and say she was a bossy, mean bitch. It's okay, let it out.
Back on February 23rd, 2020, did you have an occasion to talk to your brother on that day?
Yes, sir.
And when you spoke with your brother on that day, did you FaceTime with him or did you speak with him over the phone?
We talked on the phone.
Was that phone to your ear or was that phone?
It was on speaker.
And who was present?
My wife and my 2 kids.
And without telling us anything that George may have said to you, can you tell us what the topic of that conversation was?
We were just talking like we normally did. You just calling me to check on me, basically.
Now, in the background of that conversation on the evening of February 23rd, 2020, what did you hear?
Sarah's in the background yelling.
You recognized her voice?
Yes.
What was she yelling about?
Something about choking or how he choked her. I really don't. That was it.
About how long was this conversation that you had?
10 minutes, I think it was.
How did the conversation end?
Because she was yelling in the background, that was it.
Did she sound upset?
She sounded upset.
Did you talk to your brother after that conversation?
No, that was the last conversation I had.
Oh, gosh, it's heartbreaking.
Have you ever spoken to Sarah since that conversation?
No.
I have no further questions.
In cross-examination.
Such a soft-spoken man. Probably so nervous to be up there. Oh my gosh.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
In the beginning, when you started, it was hard for me to hear, but I know you were talking about other siblings, other family members that you had here. Could you repeat that for me, please?
Here in Orlando, I have one sister and 3 brothers.
Sister and 3 brothers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, did your brother George Torres, did he ever stay with you at any time?
No.
Would he ever live with you or not you, but any of your other siblings?
No.
All right, sir. Let's go back to this phone call that you were talking about that was on February 23rd of 2020. And that phone call was approximately 7:30. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And who called who?
He called me.
And then y'all were talking. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And when he called you, did you notice anything about his speech or his voice?
No, he was fine.
Sounded normal?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
He said that in his
He
interview.
wasn't slurring his words or anything like that?
No.
By the way he talked or what he talked to you about, could you tell at that time if he had been consuming alcohol?
No, because I knew when he would drink.
Okay. So, in your opinion at that time, based on what you heard and what he was talking about, you do not believe he had been drinking alcohol?
No.
Now, you said you heard Sarah.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? How did you know it was Sarah?
I could tell her voice.
You recognized her voice.
We all know it now.
You could hear her. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you've heard Sarah speak before that time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you've heard her speak on the phone before that time. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you said that Sarah was yelling. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
And she was yelling about, he's choking me. Or tell him about choking me.
Yes.
Okay. During that conversation, and you heard her say that, did you ask your brother, what is she talking about?
No, I did not.
Probably because it's a common occurrence.
Did that statement at that time, did that statement surprise you?
Not really.
You've heard it before?
No.
Based on Sarah's voice that you've heard, was it any indication to you that she had been drinking?
No.
No? Sir, at some point your brother said he had to go, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did he hang up on the conversation?
Yes.
And did he say bye and you say bye?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I don't have. If I can.
You may, sir.
I bet Sarah's telling them what to say. Ugh.
Sir, other than siblings, do your mother and father, do they live in this area?
Yes.
Were there times that George would stay with them?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Any redirect examination?
No, Your Honor.
Can this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense?
Actually, we'll keep him subject to recall, Your Honor.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
All right, sir. You're released subject to recall by either party. Thank you.
Bless his heart. Oh my goodness.
State would call Devin Jamro.
I really can't stand for her to smile. I know she has every right to, but this is a solemn thing that we were talking about Sarah.
Sir, good morning. You can take a seat and please state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Devin Jamro. That's Devinjamro.
Thank you. You may inquire, sir.
Sir, who do you work for?
I work for Publix supermarkets.
And what is your position with Publix supermarkets?
I am the assistant store manager.
And at what location?
Currently the Castleberry location.
Were you at the location on Goldenrod and University Boulevard back in February of 2020?
Yes, I was.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness which has been previously marked for identification as States D and been shown to defense?
D's in Delta?
D as in Delta.
Yes, you may.
Sir, I'm showing you it's been marked for identification as States D. Could you use these scissors and open this and look at the contents of this package to yourself?
Sure.
Funny how I told you about what Publix is. I did not realize they were going to ask him. But good timing, huh? I mean, that he worked there.
Sir, do you recognize those items?
I do, yes.
And tell us, what are these items?
These are Publix receipts.
Are these receipts evidence of transactions at Publix? Are they made at or near the time of each transaction?
They are absolutely made at the time of the transaction.
And is it in the normal course of business that Publix keeps these receipts?
Yes.
And that these fairly and accurately appear to be the receipts from your Publix store?
Yep. Yeah.
Your Honor, this time I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as States D into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection?
What was pre-marked as States D will be received into evidence without objection as States 1.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness who's been previously marked for identification as States J and shown to defense?
You may.
Sir, I'm showing you it's been marked for identification as States J. Can you take a look at that disc?
Yes.
Do you see your initials on that disc?
I do.
Did you have an opportunity to look at that disc prior to coming to court this morning?
I did, yes.
And tell us, what is that disc?
This is CCTV footage burned from the camera system at the location.
And at Publix, is it the regular practice of Publix to utilize surveillance cameras?
Yes.
And in the normal course of business, are the videos from those surveillance cameras kept?
Yes.
And are these the cameras taken from February 23rd, 2020? And I believe there's 2 video clips included, one at 12:17 p.m. and another at approximately 5:39 p.m.?
Yes.
And they fairly inaccurately represent the surveillance video that was submitted from Publix to law enforcement in this case.
They do, yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification, as States J, into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
What was pre-marked as States J will be received into evidence without objection as States 2.
And I have no further questions for this witness.
Any cross-examination? Can this witness be released?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. You're released.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Really want to thank God, right?
State, you may call your next witness.
State would call Joan Williams.
Ma'am, good morning. Could you state and spell your name for the record for us?
Okay.
What's it?
Joan, Joan Williams, Williams.
Thank you, ma'am. Counselor, you may inquire.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Can you tell us what it is that you do for a living?
I'm a 911 call taker at Orange County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you held that position?
24 years.
And tell us, what are your duties as a 911 call taker?
I answer phones for emergency, non-emergency, medical. We try to transfer to the medical side of business.
And is it the regular practice of Orange County to record 911 calls?
All lines are recorded.
And is it the regular practice of Orange County to keep records of each of those 911 calls?
Yes.
And those records are made at or near the time of each call, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness which has been previously marked for identification as States L and been shown to defense?
Ma'am.
Ma'am, I'm showing you what's been previously marked for identification as States L. Do you recognize this disc?
Yes. My initials.
Did you have an opportunity to review this disc prior to coming to court this morning?
Yes.
And those are your initials on the disc?
Yes.
And does this disc, does it fairly and accurately represent the 911 call that you took in this case on February 24, 2020 at 12:59 hours?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as States L into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
What was pre-marked as States L will be received with no objection as States 3.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Any cross-examination?
No, sir.
Can this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I wonder if they're going to play all of these things eventually.
The parties approach momentarily.
It's interesting to see Mr. Cacciatore up there. I don't know if he's only been up there a little bit of time, but he seems like he's a little bit more well, let me put it this way. I think he and Mr. J kind of complement each other. He seems like he's a little bit more, this is just my opinion, of course, a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more approachable, if that makes sense. Not to take away from Mr. J, because, I mean, he's hard, but that's what we need here for this one. But I wonder if George's parents are there. Well, look, if y'all watch Surviving the Survivor, make sure you check them out if you haven't already, because, like I said, Joel will talk about the courtroom.
State, you may call your next witness.
And then they go over
State
the...
will call Vincent Battaglia.
So they're putting all the pieces together, all these calls, these cameras, showing the times that they went to different places. Vincent, was he a neighbor? Was he a neighbor? Well, we'll find out.
Sir, you may be seated. After you're seated, if you can state and spell your name for the record for us.
Vincent Battaglia, Vincent Battaglia.
Thank you. Sir, you may inquire.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Can you tell us what it is you do for a living?
Right now I work for an auto parts company.
And where do you live?
New Jersey.
Back on February of 2020, where were you living at that time?
I was living at the Tealwood Apartments in Winter Park, Florida.
And what were you doing at that time when you were living at Tealwood?
I was enrolled in Full Sail University. I was in school.
When you were living at Tealwood, did you have any roommates?
Yeah, I had one roommate, Brandon. Yeah, that was it. Him.
That's Brandon Moats?
Yes.
Did you have neighbors?
Yeah.
Were you neighbors with Sarah Boone and George Torres?
Yes.
And approximately how long were you neighbors with them?
About a year. A little over a year. I moved there in January 2019.
And during the course of that year that you were neighbors with them, did you have occasion to interact with them at times?
Yeah.
In fact, did you ever go over to their home?
Yeah. Like a couple times, yeah.
And I believe you tuned a guitar for a child there at the house?
Yeah.
This Tealwood apartment complex, how would you describe the walls that separated your units?
Thin. Like very thin walls.
And with those walls being so thin, would you ever have occasion to hear arguing and yelling coming from Sarah Boone and George Torres' apartment?
Yeah.
How often would you hear this?
Almost daily.
Did Sarah Boone ever approach you about the things that you heard coming from their apartment?
Yes.
And where were you when she approached you?
I was smoking a cigarette on my back patio.
And approximately what time?
It was
was this?
pretty late. I can't remember the exact time, but it was definitely anywhere between like midnight to 2 a.m., like right around there.
And do you remember how much before the date when the police called that this occurred?
A few months, like probably 4 to 5 months before that.
So 4 or 5 months before February of 2020.
Yeah.
And when she approached you on this late evening / early morning on that day, what did she tell you?
Pretty much just kind of like, if I do hear anything, like through the walls or whatever is out back, just kind of keep my mouth shut. Like, don't really speak about it or anything like that, or say anything to anyone. And I just was like, okay.
Did she make any motions with her hands?
Yeah, like just kind of like, you know, finger over the lips, like kind of shh, like keep it hush, like that kind of thing.
So she told you not to report anything you may have heard about arguments or yelling or fighting, anything going on over there.
Yeah.
Do you recall the evening of February 23rd, 2020?
I do, yeah.
And what about that evening sticks out to you?
That sticks out to me from that night was literally just there was a very, very loud noise that I heard that was loud and powerful enough to shake my bedroom wall. And I remember that because I was sitting on my bed on FaceTime with my girlfriend at the time, and I literally felt the wall shake and it stopped me mid-conversation. And she even asked me through the computer, like, what was that? And I was like, I have no idea.
Did you hear any yelling coming from their apartment on that night?
Before that, yeah, like it was just arguing kind of stuff.
What was the last thing you heard?
The last thing I heard was like the loud noise and just a little bit of shuffling, and that was kind of it. It just kind of went silent after that.
Did you hear anything that was being said?
Not clearly, and it was never really anything clear. It was just like you could hear arguing back and forth, just kind of like an I hate you, like it's whatever it is, whatever the argument was about kind of thing. At the time, that's really all it was, but it was never really clear enough to hear like the full argument. And honestly, I never really paid attention too much to it. If I heard it, I kind of stepped into my living room to be further away from it.
Did you hear both the defendant's voice and also George Torres' voice?
Yeah. All the time, it was like a back and forth. Yeah.
So, other than the statements and the phrases of I hate you, you weren't able to discern the contents of this argument?
No.
What was the last sound you heard?
The last sound that I heard was like the loud banging noise that, it was like a very odd sounding noise that I've never heard before this day, but it very much sounded like it was where my bed was positioned. It was kind of towards the back of the apartment, and it almost sounded like it was coming towards me, but like on the side of me, you know. Then it was just like a loud rumbling noise, like that literally sounded like it was kind of far away from me, and then it like ended up like almost next to me. And like I said, the walls are thin, so like it's very easy to hear like through the walls, and not even just sideways. Like I hear my upstairs neighbor, like all around, very thin walls.
Now, was your bedroom, where was it located in your apartment?
The back of the apartment, so it was like, there's like a little kick out next to my patio, and that's like, that was my bedroom back there. Like along the grass back there.
On the first floor?
On the first floor, yeah.
I have no further questions.
Any cross-examination?
Oh boy, what is Owens going to come up with?
Mr. Battaglia,
Good morning.
now you said that you lived there next to Sarah Boone and George Torres for about a year.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that the police were called to their residence
Like,
while you were there for the year? Are you aware of any incident in which the police were called to their residence?
I had never seen anybody there, but I had other neighbors in the complex tell me that it has been on multiple occasions. So that's why.
Just instead of what somebody else told you.
Yeah.
Just what you would observe. Did you ever, the year that you were there, living next to them?
Yeah.
Were you ever aware that the police were called to their residence?
No, the times that I was home, I never saw any police at the apartment there.
And did you work odd hours or?
Yeah, and with my schooling and stuff too, I used to have class at like 1 o'clock in the morning, so all the time I was at random moments, like just not home throughout the day and night and stuff like that. So yeah.
Do you have an opinion as to whether or not, based on your interaction with Sarah Boone?
Let me
Opinion.
finish the question first, please.
Yeah.
Do you know, from your experience with Sarah Boone and your experience with Juan Torres, that they drank alcohol?
Yeah.
Hang on.
I'll withdraw to that question.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Are you aware that they both consumed alcohol to excess?
Yes.
Thank you. Hold on.
Yes, sir, of course.
So they're gonna wish.
Vincent, I think you had testified, you may have given a statement to law enforcement,
Yes, it was one of the detectives.
a recorded statement.
Yes, I can't remember his name, but yes.
Okay, and I think it was on February 23rd of 2020.
Yeah, right around that time, yeah.
I believe you had said that
I'm going to object this to improper impeachment.
Approach.
I feel like if this is the interview I remember hearing, I'm not sure, but he did say something about like George was like a bad guy, or so I wonder if it's something like that. He's like a bad dude.
Judge is overruled for now.
Okay, let's see what happens. I might be
Sir,
wrong.
would it be fair to say on that day you got home around 7 p.m.?
7 p.m.?
Yes.
Which day was this?
Sunday, February 23rd, 2020.
No, that day I actually got home from work probably around 1 or 2 o'clock or so.
In the morning?
No, in the afternoon. Because I went to work that morning at around 5 a.m.
And you said that you heard the normal yelling and arguing at about that time when you got home?
No, it was around that time, but it was really around like 10 o'clock, 10:30 is when like the
Yep.
arguing I could really hear clearly. It was like around 10:30 at night.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Any redirect?
Just very briefly.
Yes, sir.
So on cross-examination, you were asked about the arguing you heard, and I believe your testimony was that it was pretty intense around 10:30.
Yeah.
Approximately what time was it that you heard this loud crashing thump sound that you described?
Little after that.
Overruled.
It was a little after that arguing and stuff. It was probably around 11:15, probably 30, 45 minutes after like the arguing I could hear started.
No other questions?
Can this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Not subject to recall.
We would like him subject to recall. You've got his number.
Okay.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
Owens is going to try to hold on to everyone he can, probably. Do y'all think that that Sarah and her attorneys will last through this trial, or is she going to kick them to the curb? I mean, it wouldn't be in her best interest because there's so many things that she doesn't know.
All right, sir. You are released, not subject to recall. Have a great day. Thank you.
The state would call Brandon Moats.
Bless you.
He's very good about blessing people when they sneeze. Brandon, was he the one maybe that talked the other? I bet it is the roommate. See how she's just hanging in there, all involved with everything? Ugh.
Thank you, sir. You can be seated. State and spell your name for the record for us.
Yeah, my name is Brandon Moats. BRANDON MOATS.
Thank you. Mr. Cacciatore, you may inquire.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell us how it is that you knew Sarah Boone?
I moved into the apartment next door to her when I was in college.
And so, when was that you were in college?
I would have moved down here in 2019 and would have been there until like 2021, 2022.
So she was your neighbor at Tealwood Apartments, is that correct?
Yeah, it would have been Tealwood back then, yeah.
And did you have any roommates back then?
Yes, I was rooming with Vincent Battaglia.
And during that time, what were you doing?
Like,
as far as work in school?
I was just going to school. During the time of this, yeah, I would have just been going to school. I don't think I would have had my job yet. I was just a student.
Did you have much interaction with the defendant or with George Torres in this case?
Honestly, I avoided them as much as possible.
Yeah, he's the one who was on the interview. He avoided them.
The apartment where you lived, tell us, how would you describe the walls that separated units?
Yeah, I remember that my bedroom was like the front-facing bedroom, and our walls shared a wall with where their staircase was. So, like, the way the apartments were laid out, we had a one-story apartment, they had a two-story apartment, so they had a staircase running right next to the walls next to, like, our bedrooms.
Would you ever have occasion to hear arguing and yelling going on inside of the defendant's apartment?
Yes, the walls were pretty thin, so if people were yelling, you could definitely hear it.
And how often would you hear arguments or disagreements going on over there?
When I first moved in, it was it was at least like once a week, to the point that I started tuning them out. Like, I got good enough at just like not listening to them. They argued very, very often.
Do you recall the evening of February 23rd, 2020?
Yes, sir.
And on that evening, could you hear arguing going on in their unit?
Not late into the evening, earlier into the evening, probably like 7, 8 o'clock that evening, probably. Like, earlier on, I could hear arguing.
And where were you inside of your apartment?
I would have been in my bedroom pretty much all night.
And your bedroom, just so that we can paint the picture, where would that, would it have been on the first floor or the second floor?
We had a first floor apartment.
Okay. So all the units were, or all the bedrooms were on the first floor?
Yeah, like I was saying before, we had a one-story apartment, and then they next door had like a two-story townhouse, so we only had the one floor.
Understood. And at a certain point in the evening, did you hear a loud crashing sound?
Yeah, probably around 10:30, 11 o'clock that evening.
And can you describe that sound for us in more detail?
I mean, yeah, literally, like I said, at like 10:30, 11 o'clock, it's, the way their staircase was set up, I could, my bedroom, the top of their staircase would have been like above my ceiling, and then it ends next to where like my roommate's apartment was. So I could hear something start above me super loud and then fall away from me like it was falling down the stairs.
Did this affect the walls that were between your two apartments?
Oh yeah, me and my roommate, I remember me and my roommate talking the next day about like we could literally, like, it shook both of our rooms.
Did you ever have occasion to talk with the defendant about what happened?
I never saw her after that. She would have, I never saw her after that happened.
No further questions.
Any cross-examination?
So, did the suitcase go down the stairs?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, you were asked by the state if you ever had any interactions with Sarah Boone or George Torres. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I think you said you tried to avoid them.
I don't like drunk people, and they were drunk a lot, so I did not interact with them.
Fair enough.
Do you remember this interaction with Sarah Boone in 2009 when you woke up and witnessed Sarah?
I would have been 9 years old in 2009.
I'm sorry, 2019. Good catch. In 2019, when you woke up and witnessed Sarah sleeping on the concrete patio.
Oh, this may have been a slight misconception in how I said this. I never woke up and saw her sitting on the patio myself. I would have seen her on the patio eventually, but it's not like I woke up and went back and saw her on the patio. This was my roommate relaying the story that she had fallen asleep on the back patio, and then I saw her.
So you did not witness that yourself, or did you see her?
I saw her asleep on the back patio. I was just clearing up the sequence of events there.
Okay, thank you. Another time, do you recall our interaction with Miss Boone when you were coming home from school and she was trying to talk to you and she seemed paranoid and rambling?
Yeah, I had gotten locked out of my apartment, so I was waiting on the waiting on the steps outside of my apartment for my roommate to get home. So she came up and started talking to me.
He was trapped.
I don't really remember too many details of what she was saying, because I didn't want to talk to her. But yeah.
Okay. Do you remember saying that you believe Sarah was avoiding going into her apartment?
That's definitely the vibe. I don't remember what she was saying, but the vibe she was giving off was that she didn't want to go home.
Now, I believe, and I just want to make sure that I heard you. You said that the first arguments, other than the boom, which was 10-something, initially it was around 7 p.m. You heard arguing?
It would have, because it would have been. I remember that day I got home from class around 5, because I got out of class around 4:30 usually and walked home, so I would have gotten home around 5:30, and it would have been after I because I came home, I made myself lunch, and I took a shower, and then I heard all of their arguing, so it would have been about an hour and a half, 2 hours after I got home, so around 7 to 8 o'clock.
And during that time, when you say arguing, was it back and forth?
Honestly, I wouldn't really be able to say if it was back and forth. I don't know I wouldn't remember too vividly if it was back and forth.
Well, let me ask you this: did you hear a male voice?
Yes, I heard a male voice.
Did you hear a female voice?
Yes.
Okay. Were they both loud?
Yes.
Okay. can confirm, Judge.
Yes, sir, of course.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Can this witness be released?
Yes, Your Honor.
Subject to recall, Judge.
All right. All right, sir, you're released subject to recall. Thank you.
Moving pretty swiftly. Yeah, they're getting the quick ones out of the way, and then it's going to get more lengthy and intense, I'm sure.
On the record, State of Florida versus Sarah Boone, 2020 CF 2603. Can I get appearances for counsel for the record, starting with counsel for the state?
Dave Cacciatore on behalf of the state. William J. for the state.
Defense.
James Owens for Sarah Boone.
Tony Henderson for Sarah Boone. Kevin Daniel for Sarah Boone.
Ms. Boone is seated at counsel's table wearing the same black suit and pink blouse from this morning. State, anything we need to address before we bring back in our panel?
Can we get the evidence projection system up and can we test it before we
Yes.
go live?
Yes, sir. If you want to test it out, Mr. J.
Call 1 at 12:59 p.m. with a GMT offset of minus 300 minutes. Call on month. Call 1 at 12:59 p.m. with a GMT offset of minus 300 minutes. Call on Monday, February 24th, 2020.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
That is the best I can do, sir.
She's continuously working through those papers. It's probably a way to keep her busy.
We're here, State.
Okay, all right. Anything else, State, we need to address?
Not this time, Your Honor.
Defense?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. Just in the spirit of full disclosure, there are some persons behind me to my right and my left. I run the mock trial program at Barry University School of Law here in town, and these are some of my students as a member of that program, so they're here just simply to observe. So pay no mind or attention to them. With that, are we ready to bring in our jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
All right, let's stand and bring in our panel. State, do you recognize our jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defense, do you recognize our jury? Yes. All right, y'all can be seated. Thank you. Members of the jury, good afternoon. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. If you could, again, by a show of hands, confirm that you complied with the court's instructions that we gave prior to the break. Record reflect all jurors' hands have been raised. With that, the state is going to continue their evidence presentation this afternoon. State, you may call your next witness.
State will call Brian Boone.
Oh, wow. Ooh. Oh, my goodness. Poor Brian. He and their son are definitely victims, too, of this mess. Oh, look at her. Just pipe down. You're probably saying, sit your pie holes there.
Mr. Boone, raise your right hand and sworn, please. You swear in affirm the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing except what you got.
Yes. Sir, good afternoon. You could be seated. After seated, if you could please state and spell your name for the record for us.
Brian Boone, Brian Boone.
Poor thing.
Thank you, sir. You may inquire.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell us how it is that you know the defendant?
I dated her for quite a while, and then we eventually got married.
When you say you dated her for quite a while, how long are we talking?
I met her in the late 90s, and I believe it was around 2005 when we got married.
Did you have any children as a result of your marriage with the defendant?
Yes, we had one son.
And how old is that son?
He is currently getting ready to turn 14.
Oh, bless his heart.
Did your marriage with the defendant last?
No, it did not.
And approximately when was it that you separated and began proceedings for divorce?
Probably 2017, I'm thinking maybe.
And at that time, when was your divorce actually finalized?
Maybe it was 2006. I think the divorce was 2017. I believe.
Oh, don't worry, Sarah will know the dates, I'm sure.
And after your divorce, what was your custody arrangement with your son that you had in common with the defendant?
She was supposed to have him on Mondays and Tuesdays. I would have him Wednesday, Thursdays, and then we'd alternate Friday through Sundays every other week.
So 1 week you would have 5 days with your son, and another week she would have 5 days with him.
Correct.
And was this still the same custody arrangement in February of 2020?
Yes.
And in February of 2020, did you have, do you recall the events that occurred, I guess, first on the late evening of February 23rd, 2020?
On that evening?
Yes.
Well, apparently, Sarah called me at one point during the night.
Do you recall about what time she called you?
I think it was 11 something.
When you answered the phone, how did Sarah sound on the phone?
She sounded like she had been drinking, was pretty drunk.
Were you able to understand what the defendant was saying?
Somewhat, but she woke me up. I had work the next day. I was asleep when she called.
So we were around the same time.
She's done this before, calling me late at night, and generally I kind of just try to ignore it, so I wasn't really paying attention.
Who was she living with at the time?
George Torres.
When she called you late that evening, could you hear George in the background at all?
Not that I remember, no.
Ooh, it was around the 11.
Did you pay much attention to this phone call?
No.
Probably because he has
Now, the
so many.
following morning, on February 24th, 2020, did you begin to call the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And approximately what time did you begin to call the defendant?
I think it was like 11 o'clock or something.
And why was it that you were calling her?
Well, it was going to be Monday. I had him on Sunday and dropped him off at school, and I was calling to try to find out if she was going to be actually picking him up that day.
Why would you have a question about whether or not she was picking him up?
She wasn't generally very good about actually getting him on the day she was supposed to.
So it was not uncommon for you to have to remind her to pick him up or to make sure that she was going to pick him up?
Well, I mean, remind or just find out if she was going to, or if she was just going to give him over to me as what happened.
Do you remember at what time on February 24th you actually got in touch with the defendant?
I think it was like 12:30 or something.
And when you actually got in touch with her, what did she tell you on the phone?
That George was dead, and if I would come over.
Did she say what happened to him?
I don't remember if she told me then on the phone or when I got there, but she told me they had been playing hide and seek and that she fell asleep.
What did you advise her to do?
I told her she needed to call 911 and that I would come over as soon as I could.
And this is on your first phone call here at approximately 12:30
Yes.
on 2/24/2020.
Yes.
Did she call you again while you were en route to her residence?
She did. She called to find out if I was still going to be coming over.
And when you spoke with her while you were en route, what, if anything, did you advise her?
I told her she needed to call 911 and told her I was on my way, but she needed to get somebody over there.
How long did it take you to arrive at her residence?
From the first phone call, or?
Yes, from the first one.
Well, I mean, I live a minute or two drive away, but I had to get my puppy. We had just gotten a puppy recently. I had to get him in his crate and stuff like that and put something on because I was working from home. And total time, maybe 10 minutes.
When you arrived at her apartment, tell us what she told you when you arrived.
George was dead, and once again, I don't remember if she told me now or before that they had been playing hide and seek and she fell asleep, but I, at that time, told her again she needed to get 911 called to get somebody over there.
Had she called 911 at this point?
No, she had not.
I don't think so.
So you've advised her now 3 times to call 911?
Yes.
That doesn't look good.
Did you go inside of her apartment?
I walked in the front door into the little tiled area, like entranceway thing.
What, if anything, did you observe when you made it to that point?
Looking into the living room, I could see like the end of his feet and maybe a little bit of some legs that were kind of coming out around the backside of the kitchen area.
Did you continue to go into the apartment?
No.
Where did you go?
Sarah told me she was going to call 911 and go outside and have a cigarette and a drink and asked me to come out there with her, and I told her that I didn't really feel comfortable being inside, and I went out front and got in my car and waited for people to show up.
Did you witness the defendant call 911?
I think I was in there when she dialed it and first got somebody on the phone, but I wasn't there for the whole conversation. No, I was outside.
Did you stay there at the scene while police arrived?
Yes, I was there. I was part of it. I knew I'd have to talk to somebody, so
Did you talk with law enforcement?
I did.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Judge, we want to reserve our questions for when we call in our case.
Okay. All right, sir. You're subject to recall.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
gosh.
Just as long as he remains under subpoena.
My understanding is subject to recall.
So somebody will contact me about that?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Brian needs
Steve, you may call your next
closure
witness.
too.
Your Honor, may we approach a moment?
Yes.
Yeah, that just give them time for Sarah to cook up some things and order them what to do. I suspect it'll take a lot longer when the defense starts calling their witnesses.
Members of the jury, we'd appreciate your patience for a few moments while the state attaches a Bluetooth speaker so that they may publish some evidence that's been received so far.
Okay. Let's see, this is
Mr. J, whenever you're ready, sir.
Permission to publish 3.
You may do so.
It's 300 minutes. Call on Monday, February 24th, 2020.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
4748 Brent Court, apartment 3. 4748, what's the street name? Brant, Brantd. And the appointment number? 3. Is this a police or medical? My boyfriend is dead. Okay, 7 line for the flight appointment, do not hang up. That's 4748 Brent Lane, apartment 3, Brent Court. Brent Court? Yes.
Okay, is this near Mackenzie Drive?
I don't know where that is.
Okay,
It's still one type apartment.
Okay, 4748 France, correct?
Correct.
All right, correct. Now tell me exactly what happened there.
My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and
Mm-hmm.
I tried to make a case when we were playing, and
Okay.
but kind of hide and seek kind of thing. So I fell asleep, and I woke up, and he was dead in the suitcase. So I don't know what happened. I
Okay.
don't know what happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, what's your apartment number?
3.
Apartment 3?
Yeah, it's like he had like blood coming out of his mouth, and I don't know what he had, but any response, nothing.
Right, okay, all right, okay. So we're getting out of 13. All right, okay. Okay, I
Now?
okay, 407, we're on our way up there. Yeah, 407-716-8684. Okay, is he hanging from somewhere or what, man?
No, I pulled him out of the suitcase. I tried giving him CPR.
Okay, so he was in a suitcase?
Yes, and I fell asleep.
Can you imagine? I fell asleep.
Okay, how old is he working there? 42-year-old man. All right. Okay, we're setting up on the sheriff's office over out there? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, okay. All right, listen to me. Okay, that you need to confirm this one. All right, I need to confirm it. Is he awake at all? Is he conscious at all?
No. He's purple.
Is he breathing?
No.
All right. I need you to get him on the floor, flat his back for me, okay?
I did. I tried to get him from CPR.
All right.
I tried to get him from CPR.
Yeah, okay, well,
Nothing happened. He's purple.
but, okay, listen,
Purple.
I need you to get it for me, okay?
What is it?
AED available?
No.
All right, you right by him now?
I'm sorry?
Are you right by him now?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am, listen, so is he cold and stiff?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he's not necessarily cold, but he's stiff.
Right, okay. All right, listen to me. Listen, I want you to lay him flat on his back for me on the floor.
I did.
Removing the pillows, okay?
Yes, I did.
All right, okay. Wait.
Stiff and purple.
Right, okay, listen. Okay, man, that's fine. We're still going to put compression to him, okay? All right? If you lift your hand on his breastbone, right in center of the chest, right between the nipples.
Yes.
Put your hands up on that hand.
Baby, I'm telling you. There's somebody on it to tell.
Okay,
Please, okay, your girdle.
okay, listen to me. All right, I want you to place the heel of your hand. Okay, right between his chest, right between his breastbones. Put your other hand up on that hand. We want to pump his chest to be hard and fast. Going to do it twice per second.
I'm doing it again.
Okay, no, just keep on pumping it. All you need to do for me, keep on pumping his chest for me. I don't need you to stop and talk or anything.
Yeah, quit talking, Sarah.
For me, okay?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I don't think, I think I said it in this, when I first heard this. I don't think she's really doing CPR.
Okay, man, just keep on pumping his chest. That's all you need to do for me, okay?
Yes. Come on, please, hurry up.
Okay, man.
She wanted to get a drink and a cigarette there, didn't she?
Hurry up. Just keep on pumping his counter. Okay.
Go do it.
All right, just keep pumping his chest. Count up, taking count with you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Please hurry.
Okay, man, just get here as fast as they can, okay?
He's there and he's purple.
Okay. Keep pumping his chest for me, man.
I'm still doing it, okay? Still doing it. Still doing it.
Right, okay, that's fine. You did a good job. Just keep on doing it for me. That's all right. They're getting as fast as they can along with the sheriff's office also, okay?
Please.
Keep on pumping, man. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We were playing hide and
1,
seek?
2,
Oh my
3,
gosh.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep on pumping for me, man.
I'm doing it. Believe me, I'm doing it, okay? We're playing hide and seek.
All right, I understand.
I'm sure the jury is going to look for her to see if she's showing any emotion.
Okay. Okay.
Please hurry.
Right, okay.
Horrible. This is horrific.
Yeah, it is.
What happened? Like, what happened?
Okay, man, keep on pumping the chest for me, okay? They're in the parking lot. They should be up there shortly, okay?
I'm still doing it, okay?
Right, okay, good. And you found them in a suitcase, you said?
Yes. We were playing hide and seek last night. I fell asleep. I think I'm sure.
Right, keep on pumping the chest until they reach over, okay? Okay.
His poor family having to hear that. Oh my gosh.
What was the last time anybody saw him? The last time. Well, I had okay. But unfortunately, we put down too long to try to get the toilet. Hello, ma'am.
So we're there, obviously.
Alright. My boyfriend, did your boyfriend? Okay. Is there a little bit? No, not at all.
This is not the picture, okay? Okay, so we'll see you there.
Alright. Oh, ma'am, you still there? Hello? Come back with 716-8684, residential Lloyd. 1308.
Call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 4.
Oh, it's so disturbing.
We're ready to continue with the presentation of witnesses.
Yes, sir. You may call your next witness.
State will call Abraham Moreno.
Sir, good afternoon. Could you state and spell your name for the record for us?
Abraham, A-B-R-A-H-A-M. Last name is Moreno, Moreno.
Thank you, sir. You may be seated. Mr. Cacciatore, you may inquire.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Tell us, what do you do for a living?
I'm a maintenance supervisor for apartment complexes.
Is that what your position was back in February of 2020?
Yes, it was.
And what apartment complex?
Tealwood Park Apartments.
And how long did you work for Tealwood Park Apartments?
About 2 years.
And tell us, what were some of your duties in your position there with Tealwood Park?
Daily, I cleaned the grounds, walked the property, answered maintenance calls, did emergencies, dealt with vendors.
Did you become familiar with the residents there at the apartment complex?
Yes.
So we're saying, unfortunately.
Did you have occasion to meet the defendant in this case and also a George Torres?
Yes.
Let me turn your attention to February 24th of 2020. Do you recall that date?
Yes.
And on that date, did you have occasion to come in contact with the defendant in this case?
Yes, I did.
And tell us, what was the circumstances in which you came into contact with her on February 24th, 2020?
I was called by the manager and the assistant manager to come to her unit. I believe she was already sitting outside at that time.
And when she was sitting outside of her unit, what, if anything, did you observe about her and about the unit?
The police was there, her ex-husband was present, she was sitting outside, and that's when she decided she wanted to talk to me and the managers.
I'm sure.
And what did she tell you?
that she's confused. She's not exactly sure what happened. She pointed out that she recalls that they were playing a game of hide and seek. There was an instance where you were going to teach him a lesson, and then she just doesn't recall anything else until the next morning.
Did she say she fell asleep?
Yes, she did.
Did she say things got out of hand?
I don't really recall that part, but I do recall her stating that they were playing their game and that George went into a suitcase, and I didn't ask any questions. I just let her talk for herself.
Smart man.
How long was this conversation?
For about 4 or 5 minutes.
Oh, so sorry.
Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
Any cross-examination?
Yes, sir.
You may inquire, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
This conversation that you had with Miss Boone,
Yes.
that took place on the 24th. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And who else was present on the time that the conversation was taking place?
Standing right next to me would have been Melissa Sexton and Eugene Harris, as well as the officer who was in front of the door.
Okay. So there was a law enforcement officer there that day, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, on the 24th is when you said that Miss Boone made this statement to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
They were playing hide and seek?
Yes.
And what else did she say happened?
She had told me they were playing hide and seek, they had drank, she was trying to teach him a lesson, and that was that. She went upstairs, she went to sleep, she woke up, she doesn't know what happened.
Okay. So that was on the 24th?
Yes.
All right, on the 26th, were you not interviewed by law enforcement?
Yes.
Okay.
So I may have my days wrong, but it all happened on the same day.
All right, the 24th, do you remember 2 days later that a Detective Scott Lowen conducted an interview with you at 4704 Lucier Court, Winter Park, Florida? You remember that interview?
Yes.
So that was 2 days later, is that correct?
I would assume so.
Yes. All right, so when he interviewed you 2 days later, did you tell him about this statement that Miss Boone made to you that you just told this jury in court?
I did mention it to him.
You did mention it to him?
I mentioned to them that we did have a conversation.
Did you tell him the content of the conversation?
I may not have told him the whole content, but I did tell him we had a conversation.
All right, well, what did you tell him? What content did you tell him on the 26th?
That they were playing hide and seek. That she was confused. She doesn't know what happened. I do believe I did mention to him the fact that she had said that she was trying to teach him a lesson. Not that anything was done with malice. I didn't state that at all.
Okay. So it's your recollection now today that on the 26th, you told Officer Lowen what you just told this jury. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. Sir. In preparing for this case, did you have a meeting with the Assistant State Attorney on September 23rd of 2024?
Did I have a meeting?
Yes.
A brief chit chat over the phone.
A brief chit chat that was over the phone?
Yes, sir.
All right. At that point in time over the phone, did you tell him that Sarah Boone, the defendant, stated that she was teaching him a lesson and things got out of hand and that she fell asleep?
Yes.
Is that what you told him?
Yes.
Okay. And that was in 2024 of September the 23rd of this year, 2024.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you telling us that back on February the 26th of 2020, you told Officer Lowen at that time the same thing?
As I recall, yes.
So did she ever tell you how things got out of hand?
No.
Sir, you testified that you knew both Mr. Torres and Miss Boone, is that correct?
Yes.
You actually knew George Torres from a different time, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
When did you first know George Torres?
In the 1990s.
In the 1990s?
He was a teenager and he lived down the street from me and my wife.
So you had had a previous relationship with Mr. Torres?
No, not at all.
Not at all. You just knew him from then?
Yes, as I stated, he was a teenager and I was an adult.
During this time, though, that you became reacquainted with him, did y'all establish a friendship at that time here in Orlando?
I wouldn't say a friendship, but an acquaintance, yes.
Okay. Sir, on Monday, February the 24th, that would have been the day that you were with Miss Sexton and Gene Harris.
Yes.
Out in front of the apartment.
Correct.
Did you talk to law enforcement that day?
No.
You did not talk to them that day?
I don't recall talking to him that day, no.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I don't have any. If I can confer.
You can, sir.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any further questions.
Any redirect examination?
Just brief.
All right, thank you.
Back in the 90s, when you had previously known George Torres, in this case, where were you living at that time?
I lived across the street. I lived on one block. He lived the next block over down in the middle.
In what city?
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
And when did you move from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania?
2018.
So in the intervening years, from your move from Philadelphia to coming to work at Tealwood Park, did you have any contact with George Torres?
No, as a matter of fact, I moved from that particular block in 2005, so I don't meet George again until I work at Tealwoods.
When did you start working at Tealwoods?
2018, 2019, roughly there.
No further questions.
Can this witness be released?
No, Your Honor, just subject to recall.
All right, sir. You'll be released subject to recall. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry.
State, call your next witness.
State will call Deputy Kayla Rodriguez.
She was the one with the body cam. She was very nice to Sarah. You had to tell Sarah, no, you cannot go into the apartment and get your Dr. Pepper and a cigarette.
Good afternoon, ma'am. You could be seated. Please state your name and spell it for the record if you could for us.
Kayla Rodriguez. Kayla, K-A-Y-L-A. Rodriguez, R-O-D-R-I-G-U-E-Z.
Thank you. Mr. Cacciatore, you may inquire.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi.
Can you tell us did you work for?
Orange County Sheriff's Office.
And what is your position with the Orange County Sheriff's Office?
Deputy Sheriff.
And how long have you been a deputy sheriff?
A little over 8 years, since 2016.
And tell us, what are your duties as a deputy sheriff?
As a deputy, I respond to calls for service, anything from a over with call, like a car being keyed the day prior, or a 911 emergency.
And what type of training do you need to be a deputy sheriff?
So for me, I obtained my bachelor's degree from UCF in criminal justice in 2014. After that, in 2016, I was hired by the sheriff's office. Right after being hired, I went straight into the academy. The academy is 5 months of training. We go over everything from case law, scenarios, defensive tactics, physical training. After that, I do 2 more months with the sheriff's office where we go specifically into policy related to Orange County specifically. After that, I do 3 months on the road with a trainer where we are evaluated periodically through that process. You have a partner, you respond to calls for service during that time, and you slowly learn how to handle calls by yourself.
Do you also undergo continuing training as a condition of your employment?
Yes.
Tell us, what were you working on February 24th, 2020?
Yes.
And tell us, what area of the county were you working in?
Orange County, unincorporated Orange County.
And did you receive a call in regards to this case?
Yes.
And what was that call? What information did you have at the time you received the call?
So the dispatcher informed me that a woman called 911. She was actively performing CPR and that her boyfriend was in a suitcase.
And
it's not funny. I have a dark humor.
Yes.
It's just ridiculous.
And when you responded out to the scene, were you dressed similarly as you are dressed today?
Yes.
And just for the record, you have, it looks like a standard green uniform on with a tool belt, your firearm, and also radio, body-worn camera, badge.
Yes.
Tell us about your body-worn camera.
So my body camera is used to capture scenes when we arrive. So as we are conducting any sort of law enforcement action, we turn our camera on.
When you turn your camera on, tell us, does it immediately capture sound at that point?
It does not. When we activate our camera, it goes back a minute, and the minute that it goes back to, you don't hear any audio for that first minute.
Tell us also about the capacity and the battery life of your camera as well.
So the battery will last us an entire shift typically if it's in a buffering mode. So if we're not recording, it will last the entire shift. As we record, it does drain the battery. So typically we will turn it off if we're sitting in our car for an extended period of time, if we call our supervisor, if we're talking to another deputy on the side, away from a scene, we will not have the camera recording. If it recorded throughout the entire shift, the battery would die. We would need multiple batteries.
So you actually activate the camera in order to begin recording?
Correct.
Was your body camera operational on this call out?
Yes.
Can we just stop here for a moment? She's a very stunning young woman. I mean, and pulling off wearing the police officer outfit, you know, people aren't the best dressed, but I just remember that she had a very nice voice, was very kind to Sarah. But no, you cannot go in and get your Dr. Pepper and your cigarette because it's kind of a crime scene. I don't think she said crime scene, but yeah, she's a very stunning young woman and very, very intelligent. Oops.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness, which has been previously marked for identification, estates H, I, and G that have been shown to defense?
You may.
Ma'am, I'm first showing you what's been marked for identification as states I. Do you recognize that disc?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to review that disc prior to coming to court today?
Yes.
And tell us, what is that disc?
Body-worn camera from the day of the incident.
From February 24, 2020?
Correct.
And is that your initials on the disc?
Yes.
And does that disc fairly and accurately represent the contents of your body-worn camera?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to move what's previously been marked for identification as states I into evidence.
Any objections?
No objection.
All right, what was pre-marked as I will be received into evidence without objection as states 4.
Ma'am, next I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as states H. You take a look at that disc. Tell us, what is that disc?
Body-worn camera from the day of the incident.
From February 24, 2020?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to review that disc prior to coming to court today?
Yes.
And is that your initials on the disc?
Yes.
And does that disc fairly and accurately represent the contents of that portion of your body-worn camera from that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to move what's been marked for identification as states H into evidence.
No objection to any of those coming in.
All right, what was pre-marked as states H will be received without objection as states 5.
And lastly, ma'am, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as states G. Do you recognize this disc?
Yes.
And tell us, what is that disc?
Body-worn camera from the day of the incident.
From February 24, 2020?
Yes.
And you had an opportunity to review this camera prior to coming to court?
Yes.
And that's your initials on the disc?
Yes.
And it fairly and accurately represents your conduct on the body-worn camera?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I'd like to move what's been marked for identification as states G into evidence.
No objection.
Thank you. What was pre-marked as states G will be received without objection as state 6.
Your Honor, request permission to publish states 4.
You may.
Your Honor, may we dim the lights and use the overhead projector?
Yes.
Oh God, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm apologizing to y'all because this is definitely not a joke. But Sarah just, like, I have a dark, twisted humor. Y'all probably already, those of y'all who know me know this, and it's just like you see her and it's not funny, but there's something laughable about it because what else are you gonna do? It's just so horrible. But Sarah is such a clown, a dangerous one though. Okay. I'm going to try to pull myself together here.
Okay, I'll talk to you guys with some information. That's my property manager. I don't know if I should go tell him really quick, or so he knows what's going on? Where's he at? He's walked that way. Oh, don't worry about that. We'll take care of that for you, okay? I have a cigarette, though. Wait 1 second, okay? I really need something to drink. Okay, well, I got my dog parked on the counter. Okay, we'll take care of you. 1 second.
She needs a drink. She needs a cigarette. She needs a Dr. Pepper.
Put the time. Yes, for like 3.5 years. What happened? We drank last night. Can you pass this to the around to the FBI stuff? They need to sign that. Sure. No. Each of them has to. This might be a real thing. So each of them has to put their name. What's going on? I decided to fill me in. No problem. Like, we can put a puzzle together. We can do some artwork together. You were putting a puzzle together? Yes, we have a puzzle that we started in there. Okay. We've been doing art, trying to take stuff off the wall to make new art kind of there, like having a good time with one another. But we were drinking, we had a bottle of wine last night. Okay. So then it's like, we decided to play hide and seek, right? Okay. So he gets in the suitcase. Okay. Oh, who's that? That's my ex-husband. My former husband. Did you live 2 weeks ago? No. I called him over here. Okay. Okay. I didn't know what to do. Okay. I didn't know what to do. Okay. So then he came over here. Here, let's talk inside. Okay. I called you guys. The problem is, I fell asleep. When did you do CPR? This morning. When I found it before you called. No. I'm on a clock right now. I tried. I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30ish. Where I came downstairs, and I was like, oh, he's in the suitcase still. That's when I found him. I took him out. I tried doing CPR, and then I called him, and then I called you guys. Did he be here before the fire department got here? Who? Your husband? Or your ex-husband? Okay. Where's he live at? Right on the street. Okay. So you were planning. Did you come up here? I did, but then I fell asleep. Okay. You're okay. I wasn't here. I'm just trying to figure out what happened. Like having an aneurysm or a heart attack or what? What medical condition did you have? None that I know of. None that I know of. No. All we had was a bottle of wine. Literally, just a bottle of wine. Okay. Doing puzzle artwork. Then we decided to go ahead and see. That's all that happened. Okay. So I never had a tackle one in there, but I don't know what happened. So how long were you doing CPR on him prior to calling 911? You tried that all morning? Yes. Okay. And then I called him while I was doing CPR. Probably, what ballpark? Here, let me fill this back in, okay? Please, may I have my Dr. Pepper? I'm so cut now. Okay.
Wants to go into the apartment.
Man, and you can't talk to him until we get down to her, okay? Just don't leave, okay, Brian? Thank you, ma'am.
Don't leave. Oh, she's so needy. Ugh.
I know. Do me a favor. Stand over there by that car. Give me 1 second. There's a dog in there? Yeah. You want to help clear the back bedrooms real quick? Just make sure there's nobody else in here. Is he here by himself? Nope, he was here with the girlfriend, and that's the girlfriend's ex-husband. He was going to speak to her. They were trying hard to go speak to what she said. She's been doing CPR on him all morning before calling us. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and start making phone calls. Okay, go ahead. What do I do with this dog? Because I don't want him to mess with. Here, come here.
Oh no. Poor dogs. Oh, those poor babies.
Good boy. Thank you, Robert.
Horse County.
Right over here. We check this closet.
Oh, God. Sit down, Sarah.
It's on the counter. I can't use it. Anything from our house. Let's just sit down, because I don't want you passing out. This is probably a lot for you to deal with, right? Water. I can get you some water, okay? Just, I want you not on your feet, because I don't want you passing out. I need to find water. Okay, I'll get some water.
Oh, gosh. She wreaks havoc everywhere she goes. Oh, my goodness.
Your Honor, request permission to publish States 5.
You may proceed.